Hi everybody. So I have been down with the stomach virus and not feeling good at all. If I'm a little distracted, I do apologize. My daughter is actually playing right now, so if you hear her in the background, she's up and about while the other two are still sleeping. So I figured might as well do something now to record today's vlog, and I'll be posting it a little bit later on tonight. But I know I said I was going to cover my background as to what led up to all the events of my son and the twins. So, make a long story short, when I was 14 years old, I was super, super sick. Every 2 weeks, I stayed home from school. I was throwing up, name it, it was happening. So we finally went and I got checked out. Come to find out, I was actually having ovarian cysts that were rupturing. And they finally were able to catch them before they ruptured. One was 5 centimeters, one was 7 centimeters. So they were pretty large and they were almost half mass. So I was told if they become more solid, I would actually end up most likely having cancer. And then they told me that I had to go on the birth control pill to save my ovaries and to stop them from forming and rupturing. And they told me because of how large they were, that my chances of having kids were slim to none. So from the time I was 14 all the way up till the time my husband and I got married, we were under the impression that it would be very difficult for us to get pregnant, that we would have to either adopt or do in vitro, whatever, I can't even think of the word right now, IVF. And we were told that was going to be one of the options, or to go on prenatals right away and see if that would help me to get pregnant when we were ready to start doing that. And backing up a little bit, when my husband and I were dating, he got a job at a retail store as a manager, and I'm not going to name the store, but he wound up becoming a manager. And one day after we got engaged, he was out doing deliveries and he got crushed by a 600-pound refrigerator. And at that point, we were thinking about postponing the wedding. There was a lot of stuff going on. And because he got hurt and his back was injured, we were not sure with all the medications that he was on if that would affect his production in us possibly getting pregnant when that time came. So fast forward to after our wedding, we got married. Everyone was like, oh, you guys need to have kids. We're like, let's just enjoy being a married couple first, and then we'll figure out the whole kid situation after that. Well, we got married in June of 2015, and a few weeks before Halloween, we found out that we were pregnant. And that came as a huge surprise. And yeah. And so on Halloween, we decided we were going to FaceTime our families and let them know what our Halloween costumes were. And that was our way of announcing it to the family. And what we did is we held up signs saying mom to be June 2016 and dad to be June of 2016. So that's how we announced the pregnancy with our son. And my grandma, her name was Reverend June, and we called her the Rev. The grandma was so excited that finally her only granddaughter was having a baby. She cried, and she said, I'm so excited that the family name and bloodline, is going to be continuing. And I sent her weekly pictures of my belly and just kept her up to date with everything. So, yeah. So the whole time I was pregnant with my son, she was like, are you sure you're not having twins? When we found out it was just one, we told her, it's just one baby. She's like, well, yeah. And I said, well, since I'm not getting my twins this time around, I'm praying that I get to have another great grandson. Well, it was February 20th, I believe it was. I take that back. It was it was a week before Valentine's Day, because we were actually in Florida. Yes. We were actually in Florida for Valentine's Day at a conference, And a week before we were going to Florida, we found out it was a boy. And so my grandma definitely got her wish when she said, since I can't get my twins, I want a great grandson. I was praying for that, and that's what she got. Yeah. So then when I was, So then when I was 32 weeks pregnant, she was like, well, I'm giving up on having twins this time around, even though your belly is huge and it looks like you're having twins. She said, I'll be ecstatic when my great-grandson, Joseph Patrick, comes into this world. Well, at 32 weeks, I threw a blood clot. And yeah, and my husband was actually in LA when I threw the blood clot. His mom, she had a stroke before we got married, and her blood sugar fell and she was unresponsive. So we got him on the next flight out to LA. And then a few days later is when I threw the blood clot in my leg, was admitted into the hospital. And they weren't sure if they were going to have to deliver JP or not at that point. So that was a very, very scary time. My husband was trying to get on the next flight home. My best friend, who's also my matron of honor, who's also the godmom of our kiddos, she came to the hospital, and we were already in preparation of getting a car seat to take JP home if they had to deliver him. Well, the good news is that they didn't have to deliver him. So that was definitely one scare that God was definitely, making sure that he was going to be okay through. And because he was so big, that they planned on inducing me at 39 weeks to make sure that everything went smooth, to get me off of the blood thinners in time so I wouldn't hemorrhage when he delivered, and so on and so forth. So, make a long story short, I was on blood thinners for the rest of my pregnancy, and I was having Braxton Hicks, and the doctor told me that if I start feeling contractions, don't take my injection of the heparin. Yes. And, I thought they were Braxton Hicks, so I took my shot at 8 o'clock that night. Earlier in the day, I went to the grocery store, cooked dinner, cleaned up, and we were just, relaxing on the couch playing the Wii. And it was around midnight, and I said, okay, well, let's take the dogs out and let's go to bed. So that's exactly what we did. We took the dogs out, and right as we were about ready to go to bed, I get off the couch, and my water breaks. I'm like, well, it looks like we're not going to make it to our, the scheduled date to be induced, because he's coming. So the one thing I wish someone would have told me, but no one ever did, is when your water breaks, it's not like the movies. It's not just one break and it's done. No, it's continuous. And I wish someone would have told me that, because I changed my clothes 3 or 4 times before I said, screw it, let's just get in the car and let's just go to the hospital. So my water broke a little bit after midnight on June 17th. And that night at 7:32 p.m., our son, Joseph Patrick Michael, was born. It was the most beautiful thing ever. And so that was pretty much the story of him. And at that point, I was sending my grandma daily pictures, sending daily pictures and videos of him to the family, since we don't have family that live close by. They're not even in the same state that we are. So at that point, we were sending videos to everybody, sending pictures on a weekly basis to everybody, or sometimes daily. Majority of the time it was daily, to be honest with you, just to keep everybody in the loop as to how we were all doing, because we were so excited. It was our firstborn. And he came home actually on Father's Day. So that was one of the best Father's Day gifts and that God could have ever blessed us with. And baby girl, come here. Yes. And so fast forward to, it was July 20th. And I don't remember, there was something going on where you were supposed to wear blue to show your support of police officers, and since my entire family is or was in law enforcement of some form, obviously the thin blue line means a lot to us. So what we were doing at that point is I had a file appointment with my OB, and I made sure that JP was in a blue outfit, and I made sure that I had a blue outfit on, or a blue shirt on, and I just got my hair cut. I cut about 6 inches off, and my grandma was like, oh, that's the perfect hairstyle for, you know, a new mom. It's so flattering. You look beautiful. And she was sending pictures to all of her pastor friends and all of her friends, just showing off JP and just telling everybody how proud she was to be a great grandma again. And the next day, it was around 4:30 in the afternoon, Pennsylvania time or Eastern Standard Time, and I just got done giving him a bath. And my dad decided he was going to take a Facebook hiatus for about a month. And when he was in town after JP was born, they thought he may have had skin cancer on top of his head. So at 5 o'clock on July 21st, my son was again 5 weeks old, and my dad called my husband, and Darius went outside to take the phone call, and we thought, okay, maybe it's the results of the bump on my dad's head. Well, when Darius came in, I was lotioning up JP, trying to get him in his pajamas for the night. And he comes in, he's like, babe, let's go out back. And I'm like, and I could tell something was wrong on his face, just it wasn't his typical look. And yes, honey. And I said, do I need my cigarettes? And he said, yes. So, you're okay. I know, this is the sad part, huh? And I know this is the sad part. So I went out back. We put JP in his crib so I could take this phone call. And that's when my dad told me that the Reverend was involved in a car accident. And I'm like, oh my gosh, again? I'm like, what happened? Is she okay? And my dad said it was fatal. And so we found out she was killed in this horrific car accident, unexpected. And I lost it. I broke down. I was obviously hysterical. And the one thing is she wanted to hold JP so bad and give him hugs and kisses like she did with me when I was a baby. So that really affected me so much emotionally because I was very close with my grandma. And again, I mentioned she was a reverend, so I went to Canada with her for about a month when she was ministering, and that was so awesome to see her in action. And she was always there for me the whole time I was pregnant with JP. She prayed over me when I went to labor. She prayed that we were both safe and everything. And so that was so traumatic for me. I was already struggling with breastfeeding with JP. Because I didn't know what I was doing. The hospital that I delivered him at really didn't help me out with the latch or explain a lot of the breastfeeding stuff, so I got very frustrated, and no one told me that your milk supply was the best at night and to still get up and pump, so I would give him bottles in the middle of the night because I didn't know that I should be pumping to give him that because I couldn't get him to latch very well. And after my grandma was killed, my supply just dried up pretty much overnight. No matter how much pumping I did, no matter how much nursing I did, it just was not successful. So I had to throw in the towel, which I was so disappointed in. But again, with the stress level, they said it's very common for your supply to dry up. So if you're in that situation, guys, it's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. You're not able to breastfeed for any reason. As long as your kid is being fed, that's really all that matters. Yeah, huh, baby? And then I'll go into the next session. I'll go into more detail about the twins and how they were, when we found out about them, and how it was another emotional roller coaster, to say the least. But we are truly blessed, and my husband did a phenomenal video in remembrance of my grandma, and I play it all the time for the kids so they can always know who their great grandma June was. And how much she was so proud of my son and how she wanted these girls to come into this world so bad, but she finally got her wish, even though she was already up in heaven. So we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that was definitely her doing. So until next time, guys, take care, have a great day, and be blessed. Bye, guys.